Street. December 31st, 9 p.m. until 1 a.m. on Government Street. March the 28th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. in Cathedral Square. October the 11th, from 7 p.m. until 12 a.m. on Venetia Road.
Have to re-look at that one. The issues, Carol. Okay, okay. So in the issues, Carol, Penn, and Reynolds. Okay, all right.
Public hearings today is a public hearing to declare the structures at 1109 Adams Street, 313 Calhoun Street, 1205 Gent Street, 1966 Halls Mill Road, public nuisances and ordering them demolished. It's also the public hearing to fix costs for demolition of structures at 33 East I-65 Service Road, 1720 Northview Drive, and 1220 Satchel Street. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Jabaria Dent request support for the Boys and Girls Club. Lindsay Blankenship provide the schedule of events for dedicated dentist day. Sabrina Mass concerns in the community about the elections process. Ordinance is held over. 52046, adopt Chapter 52 Real Property Maintenance and Enforcement, Article 8, vacant structure registry for Henry Aaron Loop.
Any questions or comment, anyone?
That's going to go to committee this
Yeah.
afternoon, correct?
Yeah.
Jenna, you seem to be the only one that had a bunch of questions on it. Do you want this to go to committee, is it something we can address through the comment section at 10:30?
I think it's helpful to have the committee meeting.
So you had some questions.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 10-page ordinance. I mean, it's something we should probably discuss, make sure we get it just right, you know, that sort of thing. Definitely.
It's held over till today, so.
No, last week was first read. So
Last
So
week.
today would be the day, so we need to lay it over next week.
All right.
Question, did anybody come up with a solid answer to equal justice across the city?
Yes. So I'm sorry if I did not make this abundantly clear last week. That is not a thing. Like it's a good question, but that is not a legal issue.
Can you explain why?
Sure. One is you all, as the governing authority, do have the power to designate areas one way or another, not dissimilar from historic districts or the layovers that you deal with or the DDD. And in doing so through an ordinance, that's why we're doing so through an ordinance, you all have the power to do so. Not dissimilar from how you all have designated an entertainment district. As long as you're in the confines of the 1.5 mile radius, per entertainment district, you can do that. So you operate within the confines of the law. And then the second part of it is when you talk about whether or not you have some disparate impact or disparate treatment, you're not talking about, race, color, gender, ethnicity, disability, religion, or any of those things. This ordinance doesn't deal with any of those areas, and it doesn't discriminate on those grounds. And so you're applying it equally across the board.
Well, it's not race, gender, creed, color, or anything like that. And in the entertainment district, it's a bonus. It's not a fine, and we're not fining anyone. So with this ordinance, we're fining someone for having a vacant building, but we don't do that in entertainment district. But the question again, when it comes to equal justice, I mean, it may not be the people as you described it, but the equal justice comes within property owner rights and property owners, because you have property owners outside this district, you have property owners inside the district. So the question is how do you dispel the myth of equal justice under the law between the property owners? And we can talk about that during this afternoon's meeting. Like I told y'all before, we have to do something. And once before we tried this before, we fell flat on our faces. But there's blight all over the city. And there's some places in the city that can benefit from this even more so than downtown. So why is it that we're segregating downtown? That's all. Let's talk about more at 1 o'clock. I think those are some of the questions that other people have, but like I said, we've been down this road once before, maybe 12 years ago. No, take that back, a little bit longer than that. A long time ago. I just don't want to see it fall with those things in mind and certain people coming down here, raising the veil when they don't need to.
I fully understand who those certain people are. Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk.
64047 and 64048 are considering modifications to previously approved planning approval and PUDs at 3610 and 3720 Michael Boulevard. CIP resolutions held over. 081161, approved purchase order to Gray Bar Electric for streetlight poles on St. Louis Street. Resolutions held over. 011120, authorized revised solid waste disposal authority landfill accounting agreement. 211149, authorized contract with Port City Transit for services to operate city's transit system.
Any questions? Mr. Penn and Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to commend the administration and VIA for on last week working and with the requests that I have made. I have received the amendments. Hopefully all my colleagues have received it, are okay with the amendments that have been presented. And I look forward on moving forward today.
Yeah, they all look good. I wasn't clear on how the lead time was transferring. Are we paying out the lead time, or are we just we're going to pay out the lead time and they just have to it has to reaccrue for them to get it has to accrue for them to gain lead time under the new system.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Woods.
I was just going to make note of the amendments and make sure that everybody was fine with that. And I guess we would just need to offer up the amendments to the contract when it comes to 10:30, I guess. I just want to make sure everybody was fine with that and just remind everybody the amendments I think are in front of you. So.
Question: have the employees in the transit system seen this yet?
It's my understanding they have. Yes, sir.
They have.
Yes, sir.
The employees or the union?
Well, union employees are all the same.
It's my understanding all, because some of the employees, although they're union eligible, are not all union members. So it's my understanding that all of those employees have had those conversations or been made the presentations.
So everybody's amenable.
I can't speak to whether everyone's amenable. I think that was a question that came about. My suspicion is everyone is not amenable. Who everyone is, I'm not sure. But again, that's a part of the process.
Just talking about the employees. So most of them are happy with what we've done.
It's my understanding that is correct.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk.
011162, authorized amended loan agreement with James W. Buffett Declaration of Trust 1990. 011163, authorized easement agreement with 195 LLC for private road in Logan Cottages. 081166, approved purchase order to Southern Emergency and Rescue Vehicle Sales for ambulance. 091169, consider adoption of the 2025-2026 General Fund and Capital Improvement Fund budgets.
Mr. President,
Mr. Days.
I'd like to ask Mr. Collins to come up. We received from Mr. Collins a few suggested amendments to the budget that the administration proposes, and I'd ask Mr. Collins to come forward and just step through those for us.
Yes, sir. These are, the net result of these are they're budget neutral. We did have to make some changes. We recognized over the last couple of weeks, there were some things we needed to just simply correct, and they were relatively minor. The first is to decrease transfers out to grants from $28,750 to zero. That transfer actually doesn't take place. It's a budgetary item that's been in place for the last couple of years, but that all stays in the general fund, so that doesn't have to be transferred out. Those dollars would remain. That way we can reduce that to zero. Decrease the Visit Mobile allocation by $219,658 from $4,914,000 to $4,694,342. Had conversations with Visit Mobile about this, and obviously pursuant to their contract, we pay them on prior year collections. We believe that this budget, and it was actually Mr. Clark that brought this to our attention. We believe that the 4,914,000 is a little over budget for the year. So we're able to see some savings there. We reduced that down by that 219,000. Within some of our operational departments, we realized we need to make some changes to their operations. The first was the permitting division in Bill Mobile. There were some operational expenses we needed to adjust there by 17,800, from $14,350 to $32,150. Also within Bill Mobile in the planning and zoning division, an increase in operational expenses by $37,350, from $56,600 to $93,950. And lastly, in the personnel expenses line item for the municipal enforcement division, an increase by $193,800, from $1,742,451 to $1,936,251. The most of those were all salaries. In the transition of personnel to increase municipal enforcement, there was just somewhere got lost in translation in our numbers to add that personnel to municipal enforcement, and we simply added those there. So if you take all the pluses and minuses, it becomes a net zero. But those are the changes that we're proposing and requesting for the budget.
Do any members have any question? Any council people have any questions for Mr. Collins?
I don't have any questions for him, but when these amendments are offered, could they just be offered as amendments 1 through 6?
Yeah, I'll offer.
Yeah, there's been some question as to the ordinance. There's so much in my head. The ordinance to the register ordinance downtown and management of that register ordinance downtown. Looked through the budget last night and I didn't see where we put any monies in for additional peoples or department that's supposed to manage that, or any of these transfers going into these departments to offset those positions to manage the vacant property register and to keep up with the properties and all that stuff.
So all of this will be through municipal enforcement. Every one of these positions go there. So they will all fall under David Doffenbaugh.
So some of this money is going towards, I'm just asking, to fill those positions that'll be needed to manage those vacant properties.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So that's how we're covering it.
That's how we're filling the staffing for those needed positions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that was a question that I've heard as well. How are we going to enforce? Do we have the staffing to do that? Because it's something on top of what we're already doing. So that was a question. And then also the funding, how is that set up and how is that handled? You know, who does all of that? I mean, you know, those are just some questions about the vacant property registry, but since we're talking about transferring money to municipal enforcement. You know.
So specific to that, and Jamie can answer to the operations of that, to the specific staffing, there were some positions that were assigned to other divisions that were not municipal enforcement. I believe those have been in public services before. Those moved to municipal enforcement. And the council also last year requested that we add 2 positions to municipal enforcement, and those are included in the 193. So the staffing will be there to do that work. Mr. Reynolds can speak to the specifics of how they'll accomplish that task. I mean, Roberts, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the existing staff is going to take on the administration of that. The fees associated with the ordinance will be offsetting some of that, see if we can get additional staff also.
Yeah, because, you know, we want to make sure that the folks who are working municipal enforcement right now are not pulled off what they're already doing.
Right.
To do this extra duty.
Right, which is actually one of the reasons for looking at downtown only, because if we took on citywide, there wouldn't be enough people. We know that.
Yeah, well, obviously not with the staffing that we have now.
Right.
You said that the existing staff would handle this.
Yeah, we had a
Along-
transfer from public services of additional staff, primarily looking at litter in the right of way. So we're going to add to some of what they do and modify that a little bit.
Along with everything that they're already doing, that everybody's already telling us that we're way behind on and on top of.
Yeah,
On-
and
and on
yeah,
top of
we've
all
got
that.
2 additional also.
So we're hiring 2 additional people.
They're in the works of being hired, being trained. One of them, I think, you got a vacant spot. Yeah, 1 vacant, 1 training.
Now, those are the only amendments that I'm aware of. So I hope we can go ahead and pass those amendments and then pass the budget today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? I would like to say I'm glad to see those amendments, especially with the municipal enforcement, because I had several conversations with the mayor, and that's one thing that we are failing at, in the city, especially in my district, is just enforcement. We have some new houses that's going up in District 3, and right next door is a piece of property that, I won't pay no $200,000 to stay next door to. So hopefully that this will be a great improvement, throughout the whole city, and I'm glad to, to see this amendment. Madam Clerk?
09-1170, authorize amendments, reallocations, appropriations, and transfers to the fiscal year 2025 general fund budget for port security grant funds. Consent resolutions being introduced. 03-1180, reappoint Hunter Whitten to the Citizens Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. 03-1181, reappoint Jessica Fairley, P. Ann Forbes, John Rusnick to the Mobile Historic Development Commission. 40-1182 through 1188 are declaring structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished and fixing costs to secure and/or demolish structures. 46-1189, 1190 honorarily rename Collins Avenue to honorary Douglas and Mary Banks Way, and Esau Avenue to honorary James Petway Avenue.
Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. Days.
Mayor said Councilman Penn is going to be following in the footsteps of our late Councilman Manzi. And, we're going to have a lot of streets renamed honorarily in District 1.
Thank you, Joe, for reminding me every time you see this on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. President.
60-1191, approval water special bonus to the firefighter of the month. 46-1207, honorarily rename the intersection of Jones Avenue and Carlton Avenue to honorary Woodrow and Nettie Curtis Avenue. CIP resolution.
Penn, my mom been living on General Garbage for 70 years. Can she get her street renamed after her?
You're doing more honorary renames
Joe,
in
we're
one
gonna have
day
to
than
say
I
this.
did in 12 years.
Look, I just recognize the people if they ask, all you gotta do is file an application, Mr. President. You know the guidelines.
CIP resolutions introduced. 21-1192, authorized contract with Iker Construction Corporation for splash pad at Crawford Murphy Park, $394,000. Resolutions being introduced. 08-1193, approved purchase order to Delta Ports and Maritime for installation of security cameras at the cruise terminal, $29,940. 08-1194, approved purchase order to Electronic Supply for surveillance camera system repair parts and supplies, $15,397.82. 08-1195, approved purchase order to Emergency Equipment Professional for engine overhaul for fire pumper truck, $23,717.92. 08-1196, approved purchase order to Morin Architecture for design, bid, and bill professional services for Cooper Riverside Park restroom enhancements, $20,000. 08-1197, approved purchase order to Ransom Cleaning Services for power washing of cruise terminal, $24,550. 08-1198, approved purchase order to technical and scientific. So 08-1198 and 1199, approving purchase orders to technical and scientific application for 16 laptop computers, $16,880.32, and for desktop computers for $22,672.47. 08-1200, approved purchase order to Time Clock Plus for timekeeping accounts software and biometric readers, $54,737.12. 09-1201, transfer funds from Langen Park dredging to G12 MCWAT for the 3 Mile Creek Watershed Restoration Project, $5,563.
Mr.
Vice
President.
President.
Yeah, is Jen here? I just was gonna get her to explain what all this is.
This is the difference between our grant and the contract amount. So we're just transferring some of our capital into the grant account to make the contract amount whole. And that should be starting next week.
The actual dredging.
That's correct. Yep.
Ah, good. All righty. Well, that's a way to announce things, Jen.
You're
Okay, thank you.
welcome.
Mr. President,
Mr. Penn.
Jen, I know this doesn't have anything to do with this particular, but we've been receiving calls on the 3 Mile Creek about the no cut zone. Is it a reason why it's no cutting now in particular areas of 3 Mile Creek? Just seeing that as people can't view the creek now,
Not sure where that is.
on the creek. In the past, they cut in that particular area, but now they can't see.
So there's an area I think we inhabited, they called the Pill Hill area, in which was a floodplain, and all the houses that have since been removed. And you're right, we were cutting that property, and it was I can't remember how many acres, but it's very large. But we were cutting it in perpetuity with no intention of building any structures on it. And so what we did was get with forestry. And I believe what you see happening now is that longleaf pines have now been planted in that area. It'll take a while before it overtakes it, but it's to return that property back to a natural state.
Is this the area just to the west of Stanton Road?
Yeah, I believe it is west along 3 Mile Creek.
That's
Isn't it? Yeah.
that's Turner Lewis, right?
It's a long,
That's Turner Lewis, and Turner Lewis was given over to the city after Frederick in '79 after its second major flood. But the city, it was supposed to be a park over there after it was given back over to the city with clear cut grass all the time. I remember as a kid going to that recognition after it was done. All those houses were lost over there. It's what was one of the strongest predominant minority neighborhoods in the city. Yeah, it's Turner Lewis. It's right there, right there at the bridge.
okay.
Yeah, that's right there at the bridge. So when in my mind, in my mind,
Levert is the road that comes around.
yeah, in my mind, when you say return back to the natural state, there's so many lots in the city. That means that we have we can only run a brush cutter through there, and the grass could be or the shrubs can be 2, 4, 6 foot tall when it's in natural state. Is that something that we want to do?
I mean, I think there's going to be some growing pains to it. I mean, you can't run a brush cutter through it right now because you take out all the longleaf pines that have been planted. And so we've got to let them mature to a level that where we can cut around them. And eventually it will be more woodland than anything else. But it's not just there. It was passed by city ordinance to allow for conditions to return back to a natural state. And it really came out of an issue from a private citizen who was having to cut a property down in the bottoms in perpetuity with no intention of ever building on it. And when they raised that issue, we realized that we needed to come up with a program to return a lot that's not going to be used back to a natural state. And that's what you see happening is indigenous trees planted, approved by forestry to do exactly that. But there is an awkward period to where brush is growing at the same time the trees until the tree canopy can overtake the brush.
But we're doing that all down the creek, not just in that area. It's going all the way down the creek where it's blocking views of where Tricentennial Park on that side of the creek as well.
How
Where
many acres was that?
I mean, it's blocking the views now all the way down the creek. I mean, we need to kind of talk about that. I'm requesting that we kind of look at that. I mean, it's people who really enjoy the lake, the views, the creek, and we need to kind of really have that discussion. People really purchase homes to enjoy that view, and now it wasn't any discussion, and now we're looking at returning and to doing something without even having any discussion with the community. So I'm requesting that we kind of just have some discussion, have some information with the community and figure out what the plan is going forward, because we just didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay, we'll be glad to get you that. And also I'll get you the exact acreage of that area. But again, it was a lot of cutting that we had to do every year, multiple times.
Okay. And and I also request like how far, because the particular area with Joe and Councilman Carroll and Councilman Davis was speaking about, that was the Laverne area, but it's going all the way down the creek. So I need to know how far. I mean, are we going down crossing MLK, or I mean, how far are we doing? Are we doing the whole 3 Mile Creek?
Let me get it mapped
Yeah.
and get the acreage so that y'all can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, on my side, we're already at a natural state in some places that are pretty high and pretty thick, so I don't think they're talking about coming that far.
Madam Clerk?
13-1202, authorize change order number 1 with Wiregrass Construction for Western Bayfront resurfacing, $1,056,860.25 increase.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reynolds?
where does this additional $1 million for resurfacing coming from?
It's gas tax.
Okay. The original contract, what was that being paid for with?
That was paid for at a CDBG eligible census tracts on a citywide infrastructure program.
How does one get the attention of a tune of $1 million of gas tax money in their particular area?
Yeah, just get in line for it.
It's coming.
I mean, I think the way this worked was they identified that they were going to resurface an area, and then they get in there and say, oh, well, might as well do these other side streets or whatever, or they need to be done for safety reasons, whatever else. And anyways, I could use $1 million in District 4 to expand on our current contracts.
Yeah, so for the last probably 12 or 15 years, the gas tax has been used to prop up either the MPO grants, the ALDOT, that big ALDOT money coming in, helping with the matches, or pay-as-you-go projects. In this case, some of this area was adjacent to, some of it was in, some of it was out of the CDBG census tract eligible funding that was the city capital. And there's potentially some reconfigurations of these interstate interchanges that may weigh into us. So what this change order is doing, it's taking care of resurfacing Claiborne Street, Canal, the balance of Water Street, Monroe Street, basically all of these streets that kind of just wrap around this greater interchange right outside the window here to try to clean it up. One, to get us through any construction that ALDOT will be doing, to get fresh streets in front of the Corps of Engineers building, the cruise terminal, the Amtrak, all of there in front of Fort Condy. And that was the one funding source that's clean, that can prop these types of projects up. So that was the reason we chose to go that way.
How much is the gas tax generating annually for the city?
I think it's a little over $1 million.
So 100% of the gas tax for a single year.
Not that much.
Yeah, it's not that much.
And can TIF money from downtown TIF, can it be used for resurfacing roads?
But potentially could, but it's generally shied away from that for the most part.
The reason I bring it up is I'm spending all of our CIP money in District 4 on resurfacing roads. So it sort of puts us at somewhat of a disadvantage where we can't spend our CIP money on some of these shiny, nice things, that happen. And we're spending it all on resurfacing. And if we were able to, say, get some of this money, and I'm sure other districts as well, to spend in their districts, it sort of frees up a little additional money where we can put it into something like a park or a ditch or something.
We'll know that probably every district has received that gas tax in some way, shape, or form. Because again, it's propped up the pay-as-you-go programs most of the time. If there's overruns, realized or unrealized, that's typically where we're going to prop those programs up. And then those big MPO projects have got, they all of a sudden they have a $500,000 or $1 million, effort. I mean, it's what rebuilt roads within Brooklyn. And that's where we started using the gas tax to support those big grant funded projects. And without it, we would be coming to the CIP to ask those to support it. So
I know,
it's being spread around. I mean, it just is.
So Councilman Woods and I, we have identified our resurfacing projects for 26, pretty significant portion of money. But then this snag on Knollwood between Cottage Hill and Greelot came up, where that's sort of the main corridor that we typically rely on pay as you go to handle it. Well, we had to sort of reprioritize money to put into that main thoroughfare instead of actually putting it in resurfacing roads. So if there was a way, or there was gas tax money or some other funding source that was available to take care of that main thoroughfare, we could certainly resurface additional roads. I mean, that's certainly our priority.
As I've said to y'all many times, and I think collectively the council and administration has been successful in getting more of the pay-as-you-go to come back into the city. I would just encourage that conversation to keep going with them, to request more and to convince them that they need to be putting more of that pay-as-you-go program back into the city. And it has grown tremendously. I think this last program, I know at least from the resurfacing side of it, was I think 14 million dollars. But it needs to be more. Unfortunately, we are a big city with a lot of streets, and it requires a lot of resurfacing, each and every year to stay on top of it.
This is just one of those things that came up where it's like, we can't wait till the next pay-as-you-go cycle to get it done.
I get it.
And it would be nice if there were some additional opportunity for us to get that done, rather than dipping into, because we're only doing these resurfacing contracts every other year.
But you're doing pay-as-you, I mean, every year,
Right.
you're dropping that amount. That's somewhere
Right,
between
so it didn't
15.
make it in the pay-as-you-go, so then it has to go out of
Yeah.
CIP. So, I know we spend a lot of money down here, and there's a lot of money that needs to be spent down here, but, that it's just important that we don't forget that there are fill-in projects throughout the district as well, throughout the city as well, that, could certainly take advantage of this. Not advocating against it. I just, we spend a lot of money down here.
Got a lot of roads. I mean, it's, selfishly, I'd like council to put all $4 million into resurfacing and just do that. I mean, that's,
I think that's about what Councilman Woods and I are doing. That's what I'm saying is we're putting all of our money into resurfacing, but because we do that, we don't get necessarily the other, chunks of money going into our district. So, it makes us, kind of puts us at a disadvantage.
resurfacing is one of those shiny projects. Everybody seems to like those. They generate a lot of happy constituents.
Mr. Days and Mr. Carroll.
Nick, what percent of the county's pay-go funds is currently being used in the city of Mobile?
I don't know. I know we analyzed it one time, and I believe that we generate about 45%,
Right.
somewhere between 40 and 45% of
the county's revenue.
of the funds of that program.
Right.
We've historically just not gotten that amount. Now it's increased dramatically. A lot of times, they have paid for with the pay-as-you-go program, the matches, or at least part of the matches for all the federal aid projects. And then if you really back up, 15 or 20 years, a lot of the roads that have been annexed in or that were widened, were done with the pay-as-you-go program. And maybe the county paid for the match, maybe the city paid for the match, but today those streets are effectively in the city. So Greelite Road, Hillcrest, Old Cottage Hill, Old Shell Road. There's a bunch of those roads out west that have been widened that have benefited from the pay-as-you-go program.
I just think, and I've thought this for the last 12 years, I just think there are some times when it's forgotten that the citizens of the city of Mobile provide 45% of the county's revenue. 45% of the county's revenue
right.
is provided by the citizens of the city of Mobile, and we ought to get our fair share.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Carroll. Anyone else? All right, Madam Clerk.
21-1203, authorized contract with James H. Adams and Sons Construction Company for the repair and stabilization of Azalea City Golf Course and 12 Mile Creek, $642,444.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Madam Vice.
since Jen is still here, can you talk about the stabilization project at the golf course and why it came about?
This is another project where we're looking at what the sources of sedimentation into Langen Lake are. My department's been looking at this for the last couple of years. After we fixed 12 Mile Creek, we noticed that sand was entering the creek, causing more issues and filling the basin back up. We identified the golf course and the eroding edge of that as part of the problem, and this will fully address that.
Mr. President.
And then while you're here, for folks who don't know, can you just talk a little bit about all the improvements that have been done at the golf course? It may not be necessarily your department, but you've been out there.
I cannot speak to that. I'm sorry. That would be
Okay.
Kim. And I don't think
Landscaping
she's
and
here
things like
today,
that.
but I
Okay.
know that they've done a lot of work. And this will be on the lower holes, and the golf course will remain open while we're doing this project. We've got a plan, and we've been working very closely with Brian Aaron, the golf course superintendent, to get that done carefully with golfers at play.
Right. And if you haven't been to the golf course lately, a lot of landscaping has been done out there and it looks 100% better. And hopefully putting all of that out there will also help decrease some of that runoff.
Yeah, it's going to make a big difference in the lower holes. So
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Jen.
Mr. Woods?
Jen, one more question. I'm sorry. We talked about this the day that had the kayaks out there, and Robert was on Overwatch for the lake there and everything. This is that there was like one little channel. This is that kind of starting to address that one little channel. Maybe is this the one that kind of feeds back to the ponds or the lakes at south, and ultimately kind of come down? That's a separate.
that's actually 3 Mile Creek, the headwaters at 3 Mile Creek. This is addressing the sedimentation coming into 12 Mile Creek, which crosses under Museum Drive.
Okay.
Yeah,
kinda,
there is some work going on that South Alabama is doing with Mobile Bay NEP to look at how to address those issues that are happening there, which is also a source of sedimentation into the lake.
So this is kind of the land fair, that type of water runoff that we kind of that we looked at, I guess, that day.
Yeah, this is coming down off of, 12 Mile Creek runs from East Drive all the way down. We've done a major restoration
Okay.
project in there, which is phase 1 and phase 2 of the 3 Mile Creek restoration project, which the last phase is the dredging. But anytime you fix things, of course, you notice where the issues are, but we're just working really hard to identify those things to make sure we're addressing those issues and having routine maintenance. Like we'll maintain the basin at the end of this project to dredge it back out again because it's serving its purpose. It's holding the sand that's coming down and it didn't go into the lake. So we're continually do that, working with public services in my department to get that done.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
I have a question about this one. This is on this got to be that spot on number 11, just past the tee box there that it erodes away. I think a few years ago, the city came in and put in some rocks or riprap or whatever through there. And I guess it's just still getting through. What is actually happening? Are they putting concrete in, building a retaining wall?
So
You know?
I do know. Yes, we designed it. We're addressing the entire hill. So all of the drainage features that go through all those holes are being completely renovated. So right now they're great inlets, but those don't work. Water sheets right over it. It gets covered with debris. So we're going to turn them into a different kind of inlet the water can go into much easier. They're going to be recessed. So it actually controls the water and pulls it in and brings it into the drainage feature instead of going down the golf course. That's where all the sand is coming from, going into the sand traps, coming down the hill. And then we're going to stabilize the entire hill going down into 12 Mile because that is sand. There's a ton of erosion back in there that you can't see. They did attempt to stabilize it, but it wasn't the right technique, and so it didn't work. So we're going to completely address that. We're also creating a berm at the top that's going to move the water where it needs to go into the drainage features. And the golf course is going to have a routine maintenance plan that they can follow to maintain what we're doing. So it'll be a huge improvement.
That's good to hear. Azalea City Golf Course, I don't know when the last time it was renovated, but it's got competition now in the market. And I think it's a good opportunity for us as the new county golf course comes online to really consider a major renovation to that golf course. It's probably, 20 years overdue for a renovation. And if you want to continue to sell rounds and you want it to be successful, you got to do a renovation. I think it's time we do a major one. So I hope, administratively and us as a council can start figuring out a way to start setting aside some money in a capital account to plan for that big renovation. It'd be an opportune time where when the county's course comes on board, you still have a public outlet to play golf on a brand new facility that if we went down, there'd still be a good outlet for golf. So anyways, it's just a suggestion for future years, for future mayors and future councils.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
37-1204, amend Katan Ahmed's Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. Call for public hearings. 41-1205, call for public hearing to consider the proposed conditional use permit for a property located at 2316 Hillwood Drive West, scheduled October 21st. 1206, call for public hearing to consider the modification of a previously approved plan unit development for property located at 550 Providence Park Drive East, scheduled October 21st. Announcements. Council meeting next week on Tuesday, 9/23, will be held on Wednesday, 9/24, as I will be otherwise occupied.
So,
Something going on next week?
anything from this council?
Yeah, I'll do them.
Vice President?
Okay, let's look at resolutions 08, 1193, 1194, 1195, 1196, 1197, 1198, 1199, and 1201 to waive the rules. Any others we need to look at? Okay.
Anyone else on this council? Anything from the administration? Mr. Mayor?
Next Tuesday, 23rd.
Okay. All right. We'll see each other at 10:30 downstairs.